What's going on, guys? My name is Amy. Welcome to the channel. I'm a 6 months beginner day trader, and in today's video I am going to share a little bit about this recap of 20 trades like Ross Cameron. I'll do a full extended video about this, but basically today was trade number 20, and I realized that end of last week I had to make some adjustments to this idea of trading like Ross. First of all, my platform is Thinkorswim, so right off the bat, I'm trading at a disadvantage because the orders do not go through as fast. You have to go through, obviously, the market and get sent out versus the way he trades with Lightspeed. And I think it's pretty much instantaneous. There's no like middleman. And I realized that some of the moves I was trying to catch last week on these high momentum, low float stocks that I just wasn't going to be able to execute as fast as Ross does. You know, he's been doing this for decades, and his execution with his muscle movement and everything is very different than me. So I said, you know what? Friday is when I decided to kind of start changing it up a little bit to adapt to my own needs and where I'm at as a trader. And I said, I'm going to do something different. And Friday, I started putting in an actual limit buy order instead of just buying on the ask randomly as it's shooting up. You know, I would wait for a pullback like Ross teaches and try to jump in as the candle is making a new high. And every time I just found myself getting in too late, too high, and then it would come back down and either, you know, hit my mental stop or it just would never go above where I got in. So on Friday, I said, I'm going to try this new strategy, and it ended up working. It got me a green trade. Now, I did point out in my Friday recap when I talked about the sniper entry that where I could have did better was definitely on my exit. And I was just testing this out, this idea on Friday of, hey, if I buy into a trade where I think I'm actually going to get stopped out, then that might work in my favor, right? And this sort of counterintuitive thinking is what's gotten me two green trades from Friday and then today. So I had a winning trade today on PTIX, which is still on a rip. I kind of wish I was still back in it. This thing is just moving like a monster. But you know what? I got in, I got green, and I got out. So let's go into the trade itself, and I'll share when I got in and what exactly happened. So today I decided let's just kind of start with a small, super small position size. I've been trading between 2 to 5 shares of these stocks while I'm working on becoming profitable. Because I told myself if I can be green trading really small over the course of like 20 trades over the course of a month, then I can scale that and I can go and double down and go up from there. So I'm watching the most obvious stock, which is another Ross tip. Look for the stock that meets all the criteria selection according to his strategy of, you know, float under 20 million. We're looking for highest percentage gainers on the day. I don't even remember the percentage. This stock was just crazy. I think it started somewhere in the pre-market around $3. By the time I'm getting in, it's like $8. And what ended up happening was the stock was moving quickly. I'm looking at it would have been about 5:15, 5:30 my time, which was like 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And I would look for an area where I thought, okay, this would be like a potential stop out. And then the stock just would keep moving higher. And so I kept moving up like where I was going to enter the trade. And it took me like 3 times where I was like, okay, maybe I'm just too far away from where the price action is right now. And I'm trying to, try to get in too low. So finally I moved my order up. And what I did was in Thinkorswim, I set up a bracket order and I hadn't yet submitted it. I was kind of making sure that I was still like within the reasonable price range here of where this price might come down to pick me up in my buy order and then hopefully shoot back up. So I have my bracket order set up with a buy at a locked in limit price. And I was kind of aiming for $8.23. And then I said, you know, it hit a recent high here of about $9. And in fact, it might have gone over a 9 just a little bit. I said, most likely scenario is it's could go back up to 9, but I'm going to drop my take profit order a few cents below that just to be safe, right? So I link the orders, which you can do in Thinkorswim. Now, granted, this is pre-market, so I couldn't put in an actual stop order, which is fine. I had my mental stop, ready to go. I wanted to get in at $8.23 and my stop was $7.97. Then I looked at where, I would take profit and I said, $8.94 looks good. It's below 9 enough where I feel like it could easily hit it. If not right now, maybe at the open, if it jumps. So I'm watching the level 2 tape, which I'm getting better at in Thinkorswim. And this is before I actually hit submit on the bracket order. And I see it starting to come back down and I'm like, okay, cool. So instead of looking over at the charts, at this point, I'm focused on the tape. And I start to see the price action coming down. We're like 860, 850, 840s, 830s. And I said, okay, you know what? It's down to like 830 something. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna click submit. Hopefully it picks up my order, it hits a low of a candle here, and maybe I get in the trade. I hit submit. Within 10 seconds, this sucker picks up my order and I'm in the trade. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I got in at the price I wanted. I feel good. I looked at to see what the stock was actually doing. At this point, it looked like it was going to come back up. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, took my attention away from the P&L, took my attention away from the charts. I'm jotting my little notes down of like what time I got in the stock, which was 5:58 a.m. my time. So 8:58 Eastern. So it's before the open. Wrote out my stop and everything, which I already knew. And I'm still writing and I hear Thinkorswim go ding. And I'm like, wait. And for a second I was like, is that a stop or a take profit? And then I was like, oh no, there's no stop order, right? No, it hit my take profit that fast. I kid you not. I was in and out of the trade in the same minute. If I remember time exactly correctly, I think this was about a 30-second scalp trade. This sucker gave me 71 cents per share. So I only bought 2 shares, but I was like, what a fantastic move, because I was proving the strategy, which is not how Ross trades. Granted, I realize that these kind of jumping in super fast and out super fast with hotkeys, that I wasn't there yet, but I could use all the other strategies of his, do this kind of stuff to trade like me. And just kind of adapt where I'm at right now with execution and speed. So basically for me, I said, I'm going to put in this buy limit order and I'm going to put in a take profit sell order. And that way to just help me get better at my entries and increase the size of my wins, because this has been a big challenge for me over the course of these 20 trades with Ross, like Ross. And I would take these tiny little wins because I was just trying to get in and out of trades very, very quickly, similar to the way he does, but I don't know what I'm doing as well as he does. So it's been like, oh, here's a 10 cent, here's a 5 cent, scalp on the share. And I would be leaving so much on the table. I'd be getting out too soon. I'd be freaking out looking at indicators and whatnot. This trade happened so fast, I didn't even have a chance to look at the indicators. I had no chance to try to get out of the trade anyway because it hit my take profit, which was awesome. I ended up with $1.42 profit on 2 shares. I thought that was pretty darn good. And I said, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I started out Monday with a nice green trade, a good win. I'm ending my 20 trades with a green trade, and I feel good to just walk away. So I actually didn't even stay through the open because, sometimes you just have to go with your gut on that. It's like the idea of get in, get green, get out. For me, I'm kind of like, yeah, if it's like that with your first trade and you think, well, I could jump back in again, but you have to realize that opens you up to risk, right? You could risk again on a second trade. And I said, you know what? I just feel good about taking this great win and walking away, and it just was a great way to start the week. Now, there was a couple of things that kind of went different for me today, where number one, I'm on Pacific time, right? So I have to get up stupid early to trade pre-market. And I said, I'm going to give myself a full hour for just me before I sit down to trade. So I got up at 4:15 in the morning and I didn't sit down at the desk till 5:15. And I basically I felt good. By the time I did sit down, I'd done my meditation, I had my little energy drink, and I had listened to some motivational speaker audio before, as I was waking up in the morning. And I just felt like my mindset was in the right place. And in fact, the whole 3 days of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was watching a success seminar virtually. And it just really helped me focus on me over the weekend and just really dial in on where I want to go in my life. What is the why? What is the dream? What am I doing all this for? It really helped me to just take a step back. And this was one of the reasons I didn't have the time or capacity to go back and do the recap of last week's trades. So I'm sorry if you were looking for that. I just decided, I feel like I covered most everything in the recaps on individual days. It wasn't much really to share in a full summary of the week, but I will go and do a summary of these 20 trades like Ross Cameron. Obviously I've adapted to what I've been sharing here. It's not exactly like how he trades, and I've had to make that adjustment, which, hey, in my opinion, you find somebody you like to listen to, you find somebody you're in alignment with their trading style, and you adapt to whatever works for you. If you start having green days after green days and you start feeling good about your strategy and you can say, hey, I have a strategy. I'm not just blindly, jumping in the market, which is kind of how I felt before scalping some of the trades where I was jumping in real quick with the buttons on Thinkorswim. And now it feels like, okay, I'm actually taking a step back. I'm looking at the chart. I'm thinking differently, first of all, because I'm not just trying to jump in because the stock is ripping and a candle is making a new high. I'm waiting for the price to come to me, and I'm making adjustments as needed, like I did today, where I had to move my entry order a few times. And I said, I'm okay with that. I want to get a good entry so that I can get a good win rate, not win rate, excuse me, profit loss ratio. That's kind of, the goal here is, hey, you can increase that part. Like if you're good with your risk management, you're like, I'm pretty good, right? Tight management. Then the next step is I got to increase my profits, or else you just never get there. You never get past the negatives, and have the positive go over the negative. So right now, I don't have the numbers all dialed in yet, but the last 20 trades, I had a couple of bigger losses that I believe probably offset me from being profitable on these 20 trades like Ross Cameron. But the last 2 trades, I think, have given me this aha moment, this insight into what is going to work for me. And I will say that the cool part about this is it's actually pretty darn similar to the way I traded in the beginning, my first 2 months of day trading, when I was profitable. And I was actually learning from Ross. I just wasn't trading exactly like he did. I was trading some of the big large cap stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, stuff like that. And now I'm shifting strategies in terms of I am trading like Ross in the sense of picking the stocks like he would pick, picking the obvious one of the day, the big gainers, things like that. And just really honing in on somebody's methodology versus trying to take a little bit from this guy, a little bit from this guy, and then put them all together. No, I'm got a foundation now. And after doing these 20 trades, I said, okay, cool. It's been a lot of clearing out the head of noise from listening to too many people. And even when I say too many people, that could be just listening to 2 or 3 or 4 people. I'm not saying listening to 20 different people. I'm saying even when I was just listening to a handful of people, I was getting confused, where to get in, where to get out. Ooh, would so-and-so make that kind of trade? You know what I mean? Having this foundation that Ross teaches, and in fact, having this actual checklist, he calls the trading plan worksheet, it tells you what kind of stocks to go for, what kind of price points, how much float size. And it gives you a really nice guideline. Doesn't mean you have to follow his thing exactly, but I think that it's, worth testing if everything else you've been doing isn't working. And this was literally, these 20 trades were literally the first time ever in my 6 months journey where I tried to trade this kind of stock selection. Prior to this, I was trading, like I said, the large caps. I was trading ETFs, things that track the large cap stocks, or even like indexes, but trading them as ETFs. So for example, trading TQQQ or SQQQ that track the QQQs, and trading TSLQ and TSLR that track Tesla, just for example. And the problem was I, was trying to trade these things, and the algorithms, the bots, the things are all like, moving these things around, and it's not necessarily actual traders trading this stuff. And I felt like all the time I was getting chopped around. I'd make some small wins here and there, and other times I would just get chopped around, and I'm like, this isn't working, right? So now it's nice to have this foundation, and going forward, I will probably continue using this foundation, but obviously I adapted to a different way of getting into these fast, quick trades, where it feels like for me today, I felt, and actually Friday I felt this too, very calm and very much like clear-headed, because I thought it through before I jumped in the trade. I had a plan, and the plan was actually in place in Thinkorswim with my buy limit order and my take profit order. And I'm disciplined enough, and I feel like I've proved it to myself over these last 20 trades with these kind of stocks. I'm disciplined enough to have a mental stop. And I've been writing it down, key point, writing down exactly where my bailout price is. And thankfully today, it never even got close. It immediately turned in my favor, and away she went, obviously. So, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Basically, feelings wise too, besides feeling calm, one of the things I heard over this weekend seminar was that when you care about something too much, you can sometimes mess it up, right? So I kind of had this modality today coming into trading, sitting down. It's like, I don't really care. Like, cool if I get in and I have a great trade. Cool if I have a small win. Totally fine if I have a loss. Like, I really I don't care. I just want to be here for the fun of it. And I think coming back to the reason why I started trading, because I wanted to do something fun that didn't feel like work, that could make me a lot of money, but I'm not going to be focused on the money right now. I'm going to be focused on learning the strategy, learning how to get good at this. It'll eventually happen. Just the passion behind doing it, the fun behind doing it, it'll just eventually click, and one day I'll be making these videos for y'all and be like, $1,000 day, y'all, and I'm bringing y'all with me too. So you guys keep following, keep commenting, keep liking, subscribe if you want to be alerted when, I put up new videos, and come and join us in Amy's Trading Tribe on Telegram. This group is growing like rapid fire. We are, a great community of a lot of beginner traders, a lot of people who are trying to find their way, like myself. And it's just a great community, great support. And we trade together. Like, we're in the chat room starting like 7 a.m. Eastern, if not just before. And people are, scanning, looking for stocks, sharing. Where did I get in? Where did I get out? That kind of thing. What am I looking at now? So it's just a great vibe. So if you're looking for that kind of community, totally free, and you can come join us. Just look for the link down below in the description or comments to the Telegram, Amy's Trading Tribe. And check out my day trading resources as well. All the videos that have stood out to me that, whether it's mindset or something of Ross's technical analysis, things like that, I've been linking inside the day trading resources document. And then books I've read, stuff like, that'll just kind of mess with your head here. Best Loser Wins, Tom Hugard. Different YouTubers I've followed in the past. Don't really watch as much anymore because I'm honed in with Ross. But All that stuff is for free. You can just put in your email, get access to it down below, link in the description and the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.